Hello, everyone, and welcome. Life is never a straight path. Sometimes, a single failure can change the entire course of a person's destiny. Today, we uncover a story that fans of The Little Couple never saw coming. A story about disappointment, hidden love, family decisions, and a shocking engagement that has left everyone talking. This is the story of Zoey Klein. Once celebrated as the sweet, bright child on The Little Couple, Zoey now finds herself at a crossroads between academic failure and a future that no one expected. Yes, you heard that right. Zoey Klein failed her exam. Her failure left the family deeply disappointed. After the results, they thought it would be better not to waste more time on her studies. Instead, the family decided it was time to arrange her marriage. Today, Zoey Klein's engagement with her boyfriend Michael. Zoey Klein has been secretly dating Michael for past 1 year. Zoey Klein's parents have gifted a new house to Zoey Klein and his future husband. They will officially get married upcoming 10th February 2026. This is more than just a love story. It's about family, cultural decisions, heartbreak, and new beginnings. So grab your favorite snack, settle in, and let's explore the full story of how Zoey Klein's life took a turn that fans never saw coming. Our story begins far from Houston, Texas, in the colorful heart of India. On October 10, 2011, Zoey was born with skeletal dysplasia, a rare form of dwarfism. Unable to care for her, her biological family placed her in an orphanage. Even then, she stood out. Bright eyes, a quick smile, and a resilience far bigger than her tiny frame. Meanwhile, in the U.S., Dr. Jennifer Arnold and Bill Klein felt their family wasn't complete. Already parents to their adopted son Will from China, they longed for a daughter. In 2013, that longing led them to Zoey. Fans of The Little Couple remember the emotional moment when Jen and Bill first met her in India. "We knew she was meant to be ours," Bill later recalled. The adoption journey was tough. Endless paperwork, medical evaluations, and long waits. But when the day finally came, Zoey joined the Klein family forever. In Houston, she stepped into a new life. A loving brother, devoted parents, and endless possibilities. From the start, Zoey adapted with courage. She embraced her new family, learned quickly, and proved her uniqueness was her strength. For years, she thrived, inspiring fans with her charm and determination. But as she grew older, expectations grew heavier. No one could have guessed how one exam would change the course of her story. Zoey Klein didn't just grow up in a warm family home. She grew up under the watchful eyes of millions of viewers around the world. As the daughter of Dr. Jen Arnold and Bill Klein, she was a central figure in TLC's hit reality series, The Little Couple. From the very beginning, her life was recorded, celebrated, and shared with fans who felt like extended family. For many children, the challenges of school and social life are tough enough. For Zoey, those challenges were magnified by fame. Classmates recognized her face, teachers knew her story, and strangers often approached her family in public with words of admiration. While there was love in those moments, there was also pressure. From an early age, Zoey learned that she wasn't just representing herself. She was representing her family, her culture, and even children living with dwarfism around the world. The cameras showed her laughter, her milestones, and her joyful spirit. But what they didn't always show was the weight of expectations that slowly grew heavier as she got older. In Houston, Zoey's daily life looked picture-perfect on television. Family dinners, playful moments with her brother Will, and celebrations that warmed fans' hearts. Off-camera, however, she faced the same struggles as any teenager: identity, belonging, and the battle between wanting independence and respecting family traditions. Education became one of the central pillars of Zoey's life. Dr. Jen, as a neonatologist, had built her career on hard work and academic excellence. Bill, too, had overcome countless barriers through persistence and discipline. Naturally, they dreamed of a bright academic future for their daughter. They believed Zoey had the potential to break barriers, not only in her personal life, but in her career path as well. But fame and academic pressure do not always mix well. Balancing homework with the occasional spotlight moments was not easy. Zoey worked hard, but the expectations placed upon her shoulders sometimes felt overwhelming. Teachers saw her as capable. Fans saw her as inspirational. Her parents saw her as destined for greatness. Yet inside, Zoey sometimes wondered if she could live up to all of those roles. At school, her circle of friends gave her some relief. Among those who truly knew her, she wasn't the girl from TV or the daughter of doctors. She was just Zoey, funny, kind, and sometimes shy. It was within those friendships that she found comfort, even though she often kept her private struggles hidden from them. As she entered her teenage years, the pressure only intensified. The cameras were no longer as present, but the legacy of her public childhood remained. Zoey began to feel that every step she took mattered, not just to her family, but to the fans who had watched her grow. And then came the moment that no one could have foreseen. After years of working hard to meet everyone's expectations, Zoey faced a devastating academic setback. An exam that was supposed to mark her progress instead became a turning point, a failure that would set into motion one of the most unexpected chapters of her life. For years, Zoey Klein had carried more than just a backpack full of textbooks to school. She carried the hopes and dreams of her family, the silent expectations of her community, and the invisible weight of growing up in the public eye. Her parents, Jen and Bill, had always emphasized education as the cornerstone of success. They knew firsthand that determination and learning could open doors that society often tried to keep closed. But expectations can sometimes feel like chains. From the time Zoey entered middle school, her family gently, and sometimes firmly, encouraged her to focus on academics. Jen, with her medical background, dreamed of Zoey excelling in science or healthcare. Bill envisioned her using her creativity and resilience in business or education. Both parents wanted her to aim high, to show the world that her size did not define her limits. Zoey, however, often found herself torn between two worlds. In one world, she wanted to be the bright, high-achieving daughter her parents hoped for. In the other, she longed to be free, to explore friendships, discover her passions, and enjoy the ordinary teenage moments most kids took for granted. The tension grew as schoolwork became harder. Subjects that once felt manageable started to weigh heavily on her. Math formulas blurred together, essays seemed endless, and the late-night study sessions left her exhausted. Her teachers praised her determination, but Zoey felt the strain building inside. And then came the exam. It was supposed to be just another milestone, one more step in her academic journey. For Zoey, however, it became the day everything changed. When the results were announced, the truth hit like a storm. She had failed. The word echoed in her heart like a thunderclap. Failed. At first, Zoey tried to keep her composure, but inside, she was breaking. She worried not just about her grades, but about the disappointment she knew was waiting at home. To her, this wasn't just about academics. It felt like she had let down her family, her teachers, and even the fans who still followed her story. When Jen and Bill learned of the result, the household grew quiet. For a family that prided itself on resilience, the failure was more than an academic setback. It was a moment of reckoning. Jen's medical training made her practical. We can find tutors. We can work harder. We can fix this. But beneath her words was the ache of disappointment. Bill, though softer in tone, could not hide his worry either. He wondered if perhaps pushing Zoey academically was asking too much. Even Will, Zoey's older brother, sensed the tension. He offered her quiet comfort, reminding her that failure wasn't the end of the road. Yet despite his kind words, Zoey felt like she had lost something bigger than a grade. She had lost her family's confidence. That night, as she sat alone in her room, Zoey reflected on everything. She had always believed her future was mapped out: school, college, career. Now, for the first time, the path ahead seemed uncertain. For her parents, the failure sparked an unexpected thought. Maybe the traditional academic route wasn't right for Zoey. Maybe it was time to consider a different future for their daughter. It was a painful realization, and one that would soon lead to a decision that would shock everyone, even Zoey herself. The Klein household had always been filled with laughter, warmth, and encouragement. But in the days following Zoey's exam results, the atmosphere shifted. Conversations that once flowed freely over dinner were replaced with heavy silences. Smiles were present, but faint. Even the family dog seemed to pick up on the tension that hung in the air. For Zoey, the disappointment was unbearable. She had failed an exam, yes, but it felt bigger than that. It felt like she had failed them, her parents, who had crossed oceans to adopt her, who had sacrificed so much to give her a better life. The shame pressed down like a weight she couldn't shake. Jen, though careful with her words, couldn't completely hide her sadness. As a doctor, she had spent her life pushing herself beyond limits, proving wrong anyone who doubted her. Seeing her daughter stumble in such a critical area struck a painful chord. Late at night, Jen whispered to Bill, "What if she's not ready for this path? What if we're forcing her into something that isn't right for her?" Bill, always the softer parent, tried to balance reason with compassion. "She's young, Jen. Maybe we need to step back, rethink things. Not every road has to look the same." His words carried patience, but even he couldn't mask the quiet worry in his tone. Zoey felt it all. Every sigh, every exchange of glances between her parents, every pause in their conversations. It echoed in her heart. Her brother, Will, did his best to lift her spirits. One evening, he sat beside her in her room and said, "Zoey, one test doesn't define you. I failed math once, remember, you'll find your way." His words were kind, but Zoey only nodded. Deep down, she wasn't sure if things could ever return to normal. Then came the whispers of a different future. Within the family, a new idea began to form. If Zoey wasn't thriving academically, perhaps her path didn't need to be built on books and exams. In many cultures, and certainly in family traditions rooted in values of stability, marriage was seen as another way forward. For Jen and Bill, the thought was strange at first. Their daughter was still so young in their eyes, still their little girl, but as disappointment and concern for her future weighed heavily, the idea slowly shifted from unthinkable to possible. When Zoey first overheard this possibility, her heart sank. Marriage? Now. She felt caught between fear and confusion. Part of her wanted to shout, to remind her parents she was still a teenager with dreams and desires. But another part of her, the part that carried guilt and shame, wondered if maybe this was her family's way of saving her from further disappointment. The days stretched into weeks, and the distance between Zoey and her parents grew. What once felt like unconditional support now felt conditional, measured by success or failure. Zoey began retreating into herself, hiding her true feelings. But inside, she was battling a storm of emotions: hurt, confusion, and an ache for acceptance. What her family didn't know, however, was that Zoey had already chosen a direction for her heart. Hidden away from the watchful eyes of her parents and fans, she had been quietly building a love story of her own, a secret that, once revealed, would change everything. While the Klein household wrestled with disappointment and difficult decisions, Zoey was carrying a secret of her own, one that had been growing quietly in the background for over a year. His name was Michael. Unlike the cameras, the exams, and the heavy weight of expectations, Michael represented freedom. He was someone who saw Zoey not as the daughter of Dr. Jen and Bill Klein, not as the girl from TV, and certainly not as a student defined by her academic performance. To him, she was simply Zoey, a young woman with a quick wit, a contagious smile, and a heart full of kindness. They first met in what seemed like an ordinary moment. Friends of friends, a casual introduction, a shared laugh over something small. From there, conversations turned into late-night chats, and late-night chats turned into an unspoken bond. Michael wasn't part of the spotlight, and perhaps that's what drew Zoey closer. Around him, she didn't feel the pressure of being someone's role model. She could breathe. Over the months, their connection deepened. They exchanged stories, dreams, and fears. Michael admired Zoey's strength, her ability to rise above challenges, and her determination to carve out her own path. Zoey, in turn, admired his simplicity, his grounded nature, his ability to listen without judgment, and the comfort he brought into her life when everything else felt uncertain. But there was a catch. Zoey knew her parents would not approve, not at this stage of her life. Jin and Bill had always envisioned her focusing on education, then career, then perhaps love. Introducing Michael into the picture, especially during a time when they were already disappointed in her academics, felt impossible. And so, the relationship remained hidden, tucked away behind quiet text messages, stolen moments, and secret smiles. For Zoey, keeping the relationship a secret was both thrilling and painful. Thrilling because every glance at Michael carried the spark of something forbidden. Painful because each day she had to pretend as if nothing was happening. The secrecy created a double life: the obedient daughter at home, and the young woman in love when no one was watching. Still, Michael never pressured her. He understood the complexity of her world, the high expectations of her family, and the cultural weight she carried. He only offered patience, reminding her, "We'll take it one day at a time. You don't have to choose between your family and me, not yet." But not yet wouldn't last forever. As the months passed, the love between them grew undeniable. Zoey began to imagine a life where she didn't have to hide, where she could walk into her home hand in hand with Michael, where her family could see the person who made her smile in a way no exam grade ever could. The turning point came sooner than she expected. With her parents quietly considering marriage as an option for her future, Zoey realized the secret she had guarded for so long would eventually come to light. The question was no longer if her family would discover Michael, but when. And when that day came, it would shake the Klein household to its core. Secrets have a way of surfacing, no matter how carefully they're guarded. For Zoey Klein, the moment she had both feared and anticipated arrived unexpectedly, and it changed everything. It began subtly. Jin noticed Zoey smiling at her phone a little too often, her eyes lighting up in ways only someone in love could understand. Bill noticed the late-night whispers, the hurriedly closed apps when parents walked into the room. Even Will, her brother, teased her once. "Who are you texting? You're grinning like you won the lottery." Zoey brushed it off, but the truth was clear. One evening, while Jin was helping Zoey with homework, a message flashed across Zoey's phone screen. It wasn't just a casual hello. It was affectionate, warm, filled with the kind of tenderness that spoke volumes. Jin froze for a moment, her doctor's composure slipping into motherly suspicion. "Zoey," she asked softly, "is there something you want to tell me?" Zoey's heart pounded. This was the moment she had dreaded, the unraveling of her secret. At first, she tried to deflect. "It's just a friend, Mom." But Jin, sharp and intuitive, pressed gently. "A friend? Or something more?" The silence that followed was enough. Within days, the truth came out. Zoey was not only seeing someone. She had been in a relationship with Michael for nearly a year. The reaction in the Klein household was explosive. Jin's initial response was shock. For a mother who had always believed in transparency and trust, the secrecy felt like betrayal. "Why didn't you tell us, Zoey? Do you know how dangerous it could be to keep things from us? We're your parents. We're supposed to protect you." Bill, though equally surprised, tried to stay calm. He listened as Zoey described Michael, his kindness, his understanding, the way he treated her like a person, not a public figure. Bill saw the sincerity in his daughter's eyes and realized this wasn't some fleeting crush. It was real. But the bigger issue was timing. To Jin and Bill, Zoey was still too young. She had just stumbled academically, and now, instead of focusing on recovery, she was investing her energy into a relationship. Their disappointment deepened into fear. Arguments followed. Long nights of raised voices, tears, and slammed doors. Zoey felt torn between two worlds, her loyalty to her family and the love she had found with Michael. In moments of raw honesty, she cried, "You don't understand. He makes me feel like I'm enough, even when I fail. Isn't that what love is supposed to be?" Those words lingered. Slowly, the anger began to give way to reflection. Bill remembered his own struggles growing up, fighting for independence while still wanting his parents' approval. Jen, too, thought back to the challenges she faced when others doubted her choices. Perhaps they began to realize Zoey wasn't rebelling. She was simply trying to live authentically. The turning point came when Michael himself was finally invited to meet the Kleins. Nervous but respectful, he sat across from Jen and Bill, answering their questions with honesty. He didn't try to impress them with big promises. Instead, he spoke from the heart. "I love Zoey for who she is, not who she's expected to be. I'll support her, whatever path she chooses." In that moment, something shifted. The tension didn't vanish overnight, but the Kleins saw what Zoey had seen all along, a young man who truly cared for her. The disappointment of her academic failure began to fade into the background, replaced by the realization that love, too, could be a path forward. It was then, for the first time, that the idea of Zoey's marriage no longer felt like a punishment or a last resort. It began to feel like a choice, one that could give her stability, happiness, and a future shaped by her own heart. And so, what started as a secret would soon blossom into a public celebration. The family that once argued over grades was now preparing for something far bigger, an engagement. Once the storm of secrecy and confrontation had passed, the Klein family began to see things in a new light. What once felt like rebellion now looked like destiny. Zoey's love for Michael wasn't a distraction or a mistake. It was a commitment, steady and true. It was Bill who first voiced what everyone had been circling around. Sitting at the dinner table one evening, he looked at Zoey and said, "If this is what makes you happy, maybe it's time we stop fighting it and start supporting it." Jen, though slower to soften, had already seen the sincerity in Michael's eyes during their meeting. She knew her daughter's heart, and she recognized the determination in it. As a mother, her greatest fear had always been that Zoey would face life alone or misunderstood. But here was someone who promised to stand by her no matter what. And so the conversation shifted from secrecy to celebration. Plans were made quietly at first. The family agreed it was important to move carefully to ensure Zoey's young love was built on more than just emotion. But as weeks passed, the bond between Zoey and Michael only grew stronger, and resistance gave way to acceptance. The moment of official announcement came on a Sunday afternoon in the Klein home. Surrounded by close family and a few trusted friends, Bill raised a glass and said, "Today, we are proud to share with you something special. Our daughter Zoey is engaged to Michael." Applause filled the room. Zoey, dressed in a simple but elegant dress, blushed as Michael squeezed her hand. The engagement wasn't just a personal milestone. It was a declaration to the world that she was stepping into adulthood, not defined by her failures, but by her choices. For Zoey, the announcement was overwhelming. She had feared judgment, but instead she found joy. Friends reached out with congratulations, extended family members offered blessings, and fans who eventually heard the news online buzzed with surprise and excitement. The official proposal, though modest, carried more weight than grand gestures ever could. One evening, under the soft glow of fairy lights set up in the Klein backyard, Michael got down on one knee. His voice trembled as he asked, "Zoey, will you marry me?" Her answer came with tears of joy. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Her parents stood nearby, watching with pride and a touch of nostalgia. Jen later admitted in private, "It feels like yesterday we brought her home from India. And now, she's starting her own home." The engagement wasn't just about Zoey and Michael. It was about a family learning to embrace change, to release expectations, and to trust in the choices of the daughter they had raised with love. But the surprises didn't end there. To show their full support, Jen and Bill prepared a gift that would astonish both Zoey and Michael. A gift that symbolized not just approval, but a future. A house. And with that, the engagement story deepened into something even more extraordinary. Engagements are usually marked with rings, blessings, and promises. But for Zoey Klein, her parents had something much bigger in mind. A gesture that would forever shape her new life with Michael. Bill and Jen had always believed that love should be supported not only with words but with actions. They knew Zoey's journey had been filled with challenges: adoption, medical struggles, academic pressure, and now the responsibility of choosing a partner at such a young age. If she was truly ready to begin a new chapter, they wanted her to have the strongest foundation possible. That foundation came in the form of a house. One afternoon, after weeks of quiet planning, Bill and Jen invited Zoey and Michael on what they described as a family outing. The couple didn't suspect anything unusual. They drove through a quiet Houston neighborhood, lined with trees and filled with warm, welcoming homes. Finally, the car stopped in front of a modern two-story house with a neatly kept lawn and bright windows that reflected the sun. Zoey looked out the window, puzzled. "What are we doing here?" Jen smiled but said nothing. Bill pulled out a set of keys and handed them to his daughter. "Why don't you open the door and see for yourself?" Confused but curious, Zoey and Michael walked up to the front porch. The door creaked open, and inside, the space was empty but full of promise. A wide living room, a cozy kitchen, and upstairs, a pair of bedrooms filled with light. It wasn't extravagant, but it was perfect. Zoey turned to her parents, her voice trembling. "What is this?" Jen stepped forward, her eyes filled with both pride and emotion. "This is your new home. Our gift to you and Michael. A place to start your life together." For a moment, silence hung in the air. Then Zoey burst into tears, rushing into her mother's arms. Michael stood stunned, barely able to speak, finally managing a heartfelt, "Thank you? I don't know what to say." The gift wasn't just about bricks and walls. It was about trust. It was Jen and Bill's way of telling their daughter, "We believe in you. We believe in your future." News of the gift spread quickly among close family and friends. Some called it generous, others called it symbolic. For Zoey, it was both. The house became more than property. It was the embodiment of love, acceptance, and the legacy her parents were passing down. That evening, the family gathered inside the new home, sitting on the floor with takeout boxes and laughter filling the air. It wasn't furnished yet, but it already felt alive. Zoey and Michael walked through each room hand in hand, imagining their future together. Dinners with friends, quiet mornings, maybe even a family of their own one day. For Bill and Jen, watching their daughter step into that house was bittersweet. They had raised her, guided her, worried over her. Now, they were letting go just enough to watch her take her own steps. The gift of the house wasn't the end of the story. It was only the beginning. Ahead lay wedding plans, cultural traditions, and the countdown to February 10, 2026, the day Zoey and Michael would officially begin their married life. But in that moment, standing in the doorway of her new home, Zoey felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: peace. Once the engagement was announced and the new house revealed, life for Zoey Klein and Michael shifted into full wedding mode. What had once been a quiet secret between two young people was now a celebration that drew the attention of family, friends, and even longtime fans of the little couple. The date was set, February 10, 2026. A day that would mark the start of a new chapter in Zoey's life. With just months to prepare, the Klein household buzzed with excitement, anticipation, and the occasional moment of chaos. Zoey's life was a blend of cultures, born in India, raised in the United States, and deeply rooted in the values of her adoptive family. Her wedding reflected that tapestry. The Kleins wanted to honor Zoey's Indian heritage while also celebrating the traditions of an American ceremony. Discussions flowed late into the night. Would she wear a white gown or a colorful lehenga? Would there be a church ceremony or a traditional mandap? In the end, the decision was to blend the two. Zoey would walk down the aisle in a white gown for the formal vows, then later change into a vibrant Indian outfit for the reception, a perfect symbol of her dual identity. Planning the guest list was no easy task. Extended family, childhood friends, close neighbors, and even people who had supported the family during Zoey's adoption years all hoped to be part of the big day. The Kleins finally chose a spacious event hall in Houston, adorned with high ceilings and elegant decor, but close enough to feel intimate. The space would be transformed with floral arrangements, fairy lights, and warm colors to create an atmosphere of love and celebration. Unlike many brides who become overwhelmed, Zoey embraced the process. For the first time in months, she felt truly confident in her choices, in her future, and in the family standing behind her. She flipped through bridal magazines, laughed with friends over cake tastings, and took her time choosing every detail. Her brother Will supported her every step of the way, joking, "Don't worry, I'll make sure Michael doesn't run away before the big day." His humor lightened the mood, reminding Zoey that this wasn't just about stress and planning, it was about joy. But behind the excitement, emotions ran deep. For Jen and Bill, every day brought a wave of nostalgia. They remembered Zoey's first steps in Houston, her first day at school, her first time riding a bike. And now, she was preparing to say, "I do." Jen admitted privately to a close friend, "It's hard to let go, but it's beautiful too." We always wanted her to find happiness, and now she's found it. Bill, meanwhile, focused on the practical side, ensuring everything ran smoothly but secretly bracing himself for the moment he would walk his daughter down the aisle. Michael's commitment. On his side, Michael threw himself into preparations as well. He worked closely with Bill, learning the family's values, showing his respect, and proving that he wasn't just marrying Zoey. He was joining the entire Klein family. His quiet determination won over even the most skeptical relatives. As the days drew closer, anticipation spread. Invitations went out, the final fittings were scheduled, and the rehearsal dinner brought together both families in laughter and unity. For Zoey, each passing day carried a mix of nerves and excitement. But when she stood in her nearly finished wedding gown during the final fitting, looking at herself in the mirror, she whispered words that only she could hear. "This is really happening. I'm ready." The girl who once feared she had let her family down was now stepping into a future of her own making. And with February 10th just around the corner, all that remained was the wedding itself, the moment when Zoey Klein would walk into a new life. Not as the little girl fans once knew, but as a woman, a wife, and the author of her own story. The day finally arrived. February 10, 2026. The sun rose over Houston with a golden glow, as if nature itself was blessing the moment. At the event hall, the decorations shimmered. White roses, golden drapes, and twinkling fairy lights blending seamlessly with colorful fabrics that honored Zoey's Indian heritage. The air carried the hum of excitement, nervous whispers, and the soft notes of music playing in the background. Zoey Klein stood in her bridal suite, dressed first in a flowing white gown. Her hair was done with delicate flowers woven in, her makeup light yet radiant. She wasn't just the little girl the world had once seen on television. She was a woman about to step into her future. As Jen entered the room, her eyes filled with tears. She hugged her daughter tightly and whispered, "You've always been my miracle. Today, you're becoming someone else's too." Bill followed, struggling to hold back his emotions as he prepared for the moment every father both dreads and cherishes, walking his daughter down the aisle. The ceremony began. Guests stood as Zoey appeared, her arm linked with her father's. Every step she took was heavy with meaning, a journey from the orphanages of India to this very aisle. From a scared little girl to a confident bride. Michael, standing at the altar, looked at her with eyes full of love and unwavering commitment. When their vows were spoken, the room grew silent. Zoey's voice trembled, but her words were strong. "Michael, you see me for who I am, not for what the world expects me to be. With you, I am enough. With you, I am home." Michael's reply was equally powerful. "Zoey, you are my best friend, my love, and my future. I promise to walk beside you in every challenge, in every triumph, for as long as we live." The words sealed a bond that had survived secrecy, fear, and family doubts. And when the officiant finally said, "You may now kiss the bride," the hall erupted in applause. Later, during the reception, Zoey changed into her vibrant Indian attire, dazzling in deep red and gold. The fusion of cultures made the night unforgettable. Guests danced, laughter filled the air, and every corner of the hall seemed alive with celebration. But perhaps the most meaningful moment came when Zoey and Michael shared their first dance. Surrounded by friends and family, they moved slowly to the music, lost in each other. For Zoey, it wasn't just a dance. It was a declaration. She had stumbled, she had fallen, but she had risen stronger, braver, and loved. As the night drew to a close, the newlyweds walked out of the hall hand in hand, heading not just toward a honeymoon, but toward the home Bill and Jen had gifted them, a house that would now echo with their laughter, their struggles, and their love. Zoey Klein's journey had come full circle. From a small orphanage in India to a life of fame in America, from academic setbacks to the joy of true love. She had written her own story, one that no exam, no disappointment could ever erase. This was not an ending. It was a new beginning. And so, Zoey Klein's journey reminds us all of something profound. Life doesn't always follow the path we expect. Failure does not define us. Expectations may weigh us down, but love has the power to lift us higher than we ever dreamed. From adoption to engagement, from heartbreak to healing, Zoey has shown the world that strength comes in many forms. Sometimes it's in passing an exam. Other times, it's in choosing to follow your heart, even when the world doesn't understand. As she begins her new life with Michael, one thing is certain: Zoey's story is far from over. It's only just beginning. Thank you for watching this deep dive into Zoey Klein's incredible journey. More update. The little couple Bill Klein gets emotional over Will and Zoey. And the little couple Zoey Klein failed at school. What happened? The little couple Zoey Klein introduces new family member. The little couple Zoey Klein grown up and unrecognizable. I will explain everything. Little couple star Zoey Klein is reportedly in the hospital right now, according to her mom Jen Arnold. After keeping mum about her daughter's plight for a while, Jen finally spoke up about it over the weekend. Is my understanding correct? For what reason was she hospitalized? Keep reading to find out everything. Since new episodes of The Little Couple have not been airing on TLC, fans have enjoyed following Jen, Bill, Will, and Zoey on social media. When that happened, Jen made sure her fans knew what was happening with Zoey. Some of Jen's social media followers may have spotted her recent posts about little people problems. While playing the part of little people, she, Will, Zoey, and Bill all deal with various health issues. Bill missed out on a family vacation because he is waiting for surgery to fix his chronic back pain. Again on Saturday night, Jennifer informed her Instagram fans that her 11-year-old daughter is in the hospital. It is important to assess the girl's sleep. Obstructive sleep apnea may affect a disproportionate number of smaller people, according to the National Library of Medicine. The topic of Jen's post was the second child for another successful sleep study. Next, Shitted Read was a part of the set for the Little Couple star. Below this, you will find Jen's whole post. We have already mentioned that Will Klein had a sleep study done. Now it is Zoey's chance. A lot of Jen Arnold's admirers are wanting to tell Zoey Klein how much they care by commenting on her latest post. The fact that her study on sleep was fruitful is excellent news for them. I really doubt I would sleep so soundly in such an unfamiliar environment either, one admirer responded bitterly. Her bravery is quite admirable. She possesses a lovely soul. Way to go, Zoe! Well done, Zoey! Exclaimed another fan of The Little Couple. You are a very brave young woman. As we mentioned earlier, Bill Klein has recently shared a few pictures of Zoey's bandaged skull. This happened when she had another sleep study done on her a while back. The archived photos are located below. Hearing that Zoey's sleep study went well is promising. Keep checking back because Jen might share additional details about the results in a later post. So, what do you think of these new photographs of Zoey Klein? Does the knowledge that it's only a routine test alleviate any concerns you may have? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. And stay tuned to TV shows Ace for more news about the Little Couple cast. The little couple Zoey Klein failed at school. What happened? Famous little couple member Zoey Klein has grown up a lot in the last few years. Not long ago, she had a very low score on an important school test. So what happened to Jen Arnold and Bill Klein's daughter? If anyone has been living under a rock and hasn't been watching the journey of this family since the 2019 season finale of The Little Couple aired on TLC, a lot has happened. Bill, Zoey, Jen, and will set out for Boston from Florida. They have been building new lives in Beantown ever since. Not to mention that Zoey Klein is already 12 years old. Also, in September of 2024, when she turns 13, she will officially be a teenager. She has grown up a lot since they first met, so TLC viewers of The Little Couple may relax. A common concern for new parents is how their children will adjust to their new environment after uprooting their family and moving to New England from Florida. Changing schools and forming new friendships are both aspects of this journey. Lucky for us, that wasn't just Zoey Klein who had to adapt. Her older brother, Will Klein, was also compelled to cooperate. They first relied on each other, which aided their adjustment even more. They appeared to be making the most of their new home and all its features, even the snow. Our friend Jen Arnold just let us know that her daughter did poorly on an exam at school. Zoey Klein felt lucky that the exam she had to take wasn't the kind that parents take since they only want what's best for their children. Failed her vision screening at school was what she told her legions of Little Couples fans, according to Jen Arnold. The next step is to determine if Zoey's ongoing reliance on her spectacles is really necessary. As a natural part of growing up, this happens to a lot of people. Not passing the exam isn't necessarily a disaster. The issue could be better if Zoey Klein had to wear her spectacles all the time. According to Zoey's mother, she may even join the fashionable eye-wearing club when her daughter's vision improves. They also have a fondness for sassy glasses, which they both enjoy. We will see if Zoey quickly adopts her mother's style and dons this adornment. The Little Couple Zoey Klein introduces new family member. A member of the Little Couple, Zoey Klein, recently celebrated the birth of a new family member and had plenty to share with their many TLC followers. Can you tell us anything else about their new baby? Throughout the years, Bill Klein and Jen Arnold's home, The Little Couple, has served as a sanctuary for their family and friends. They double-checked that their Boston home had all the upgrades their expanding family would need before they moved there. Like Will and Zoey Klein, Jen and Biddle do their best to honor the cultural backgrounds of those they're visiting. Observing the Lunar New Year in grand fashion was the Arnold/Klein family's tradition. Bill and Jen set up the decor, and they served Mongolian hot pot to honor Will's history and homeland. They joined Zoey and her family in celebrating Diwali because they are also Hindu. A lot of people who watch The Little Couple think it's heartwarming that Will and Zoey are still paying respect to their family's traditions. According to Jen Arnold's latest updates, the Little Couple family has grown. Jen shared a cute video in which Zoey Klein introduces Gracie, a red rabbit. Famous people can't contain their joy over the addition of this cute rabbit to the Arnold/Klein household. Many viewers of The Little Couple are ecstatic that Zoey Klein has discovered a loving home for Gracie, since it is clear that she has developed affections for her. Chocolate, another bunny, is actually Gracie's older sister. Jen Arnold recorded what happened next between Gracie and Chocolate and shared the video with everyone. Because of all the animals living there, the family home now seems more like a zoo. Rocky was no longer a part of the Little Couple family as of 2022. His legacy continues at Rocky and Maggie's, a pet store in Houston, Texas, established by Bill Klein and Jen Arnold. Will Klein displayed an emotional collage featuring his brother in a recent social media post. Despite the passage of time, it is evident that Rocky's death has not improved the family's mood. Many fans of The Little Couple are happy for Zoey and Will since they are able to give Gracie a loving home, and they are also pleased for the animal because of this. A Little Couple admirer gushed, "I feel so old." About the couple's advanced years, Jen and Arnold have my utmost admiration. "I was there when they took Will and Zoe in. Well done, everyone. A second commenter chimed in to say that Zoey is obviously an amazing animal lover. The little couple Zoey Klein grown up and unrecognizable. The little couple's last television appearance was quite some time ago. Zoey Klein's recent Easter update, which she shared with her kid, has Arnold family fans going absolutely bonkers. Many have commented on how beautiful Zoey is, with some even going so far as to say she no longer looks like herself. Even though the family-friendly TLC show has been off air for some time, many fans still express their want to see the little couple. This adored clan has dropped a deluge of new material in the last several years alone. Among the most notable changes was the family's relocation to Boston. On top of that, there have been numerous trips to New York City undertaken by relatives. Since relocating to Boston, the little couple has taken full advantage of the ease with which they can visit New York City. Even though Jen Arnold tries her best to keep her fans in the loop about their lives, most of them still prefer to catch every episode. The most recent social media posts made by Jen Arnold purport to show her daughter Zoey Klein in an Easter update. Jen wrote, "Happy Easter from Zoey," as the caption to her status update. Zoey celebrated this momentous occasion with a spirited dance. "Hope you're enjoying a beautiful day spent outdoors with those you care about. Couples, Zoey, spring break, children, parenting, dancing, and sunset." The adorable update to the little couple is gaining a lot of viewers thanks to Zoey's appearance. Many can't ignore the fact that Zoey Klein seems a lot older and wiser now. Many observers recall the day of her adoption by Bill Klein and Jen Arnold with great pleasure now that she is an adult. Zoey Klein is now a teenager and does all the things that teenagers do, in case you haven't been following her news lately. Zoey steals cosmetics from her mom's purse so she can experiment with different looks and more. Many commenters on the TLC reality show the little couple have voiced their shock at how much she has changed since they first met. "Zoe looks so beautiful," gushed a commenter not long ago. From the land of the long white cloud, best wishes and greetings on this Easter. Zoey, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic Easter. Someone else said, to Bill, Will, Jen, and everyone else. Zoey, you are now a stunning young woman. By the way, you have a great dance floor presence. She has certainly matured, says the third party. I hope you have a wonderful Easter. No more today. What are you thinking about this gossip today? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned by subscribing to our channel to get more updates like this. Thank you.